Hello there, my name is Darcie Clark and I've been teaching yoga for 14 years and at Yoga Grove for just over a year now. One of my favorite classes to teach is the functional strength class, which you can join me for on Mondays at 3:30 or Thursdays at 5:30 p.m. So in the class, I like to use 1 to 2 pound weights. I also like to use the chair or blocks to bring the ground up to you. And all of my classes are accessible and easily modifiable for people who don't like to, put weight on their knees or have certain movement restrictions. So I'll show you a little bit of that as well. So we're going to start on the knees, on the hands and knees. And of course, if hands and knees doesn't feel good, you can also bring the hands to the seat of a chair and stand with your feet underneath you and do the exact same thing we're going to be doing on the knees. So you're going to need one weight, one of your weights, whether it's a can of beans, which works really well, or an actual free weight. And let's start finding our neutral spine in table pose. Let's first round the back and just get a sense of, that flexion and nice stretch. And then start to open up the chest, lift the tailbone, looking a bit forward. So we're arching and rounding the back a few times. Noticing our breath along the way. Good, and then having found some arches and some rounded spines, let's come to more of a neutral spine. So having tailbone pointing back, crown of the head reaching forward. Let's hold on to our weight in our right hand. We'll balance with our right arm and left leg stretching away from us, and then pull those limbs back in towards center without rounding your back. So let's try to keep the back broad, the belly broad and lifted. That's it. The ribs aren't moving. Trying as well not to lift one hip higher than the other. That's it. And just stretching that right arm as forward as it can go. If going forward doesn't feel good in the shoulder, you can also go out to the side. That's it. And then pausing, whether you're out to the side or staying forward, let's hold this position while we're actively pushing the floor away, trying to lift our front body away from the ground. That's it. And then relax and rest. Maybe just wiggle a little bit. Maybe you want to reduce the strain on the wrist. Give it some movement through that left one where you were having to hold yourself up with. Okay? And then we can try it on the other side. Maybe I'll demonstrate it this time on the chair. So finding your support through the right hand and the left leg this time. Let's stretch the left arm and the right leg forward or away from center. And then pull everything back in without letting your back round. So we're not arching and rounding the spine for this. In fact, it's more of a core movement. That's it. So we can maintain that stability through the torso while we're finding these movements that strengthen more into hips and shoulder. Nice. And again, if it's more comfortable on this shoulder to stretch the arm out to the side, do that. And let's hold our last one. So noticing your head's position, can you bring it back in line with your shoulders? Try not to let it hang forward with gravity. Excellent. And then come back and feel free to relax into a child's pose or a standing forward bend or any preferred resting shape. Just take a breath or two. Check in with your heart rate. Try to slow things down a little bit. And then as we come back into table pose, let's explore still keeping our spine in a neutral shape. What you might do for this is have a little more space between your hands and your knees. So hands a little further forward of your shoulders. And we can start to get the action of the feeling of pushing and pulling through our hands, through our arms. So as you push forward and down through your palms, your upper body rocks back a little bit. And as you get the sense of pulling with your hands towards your knees, your upper body rocks forward. So the same action can happen in our standing table pose, still getting that sense of pushing and pulling the seat of the chair towards you or away from you. And noticing that strength in the arms, in the legs, in the core to keep the spine neutral. Good. Next time you push your hands forward and back, let's send the hips up and back into downward dog. So this is downward dog at the chair. You can also, of course, push back and send the hips up from the floor. So let's pause for a moment and just notice the nature of your breath. See if you can, let the exhales be just as long as your inhales. Find a bit of balance within your breath here. Good, and then slowly let's start to walk the feet forward to the hands. So as you do that, you might bend the knees more, your hands might end up lifting off of your support, and you can relax now through the upper body. So dangling through the weight of the head, that'll help to bring a little more space into the back of the neck. We're often usually pretty tight there. That's it. And then can you feel the upper body stay relaxed as your legs help to bring you up? Let's roll the spine. So push down through the feet, hug up and in through the belly, and start to curl the tailbone towards the heels. And let the rest of the spine stack up from there. Really nice. Okay. So let's go ahead and use our weights again as we stand towards the top of our mats. We're going to go through a couple of little squat variations here that help to strengthen our hips, ankles, and knees. So let's just start with our feet about hip distance apart. We can hold on to our weights either in front of our chest or belly or beside us if you prefer. Okay, so beside your body or in front. So let's just start with a bit of a chair pose squat. So bending at the knees and the hips, maybe noticing where the weight goes in your feet. Doing that one more time, two more times. And then we're going to keep the right foot where it is. Step your left foot maybe just slightly behind your right foot. So your heel is up. And then squat again. Stepping your left foot back another couple of inches. And further. Bending and straightening, taking your time to find what is supporting you here. Your right leg, your left toes. So, of course, the further back you go with that left leg, the more you're asking in your hips and in your low back. So go to where it's comfortable, where it's feeling stable. Back leg is pretty straight at this point. Front knee is bent. Let's stretch out the arms in front of us. So let's go ahead and pull the right elbow back and then straighten that arm, finding a twist, and then facing forward again. Pull back with the right elbow, twisting towards our bent leg, and then back to center. One more time. Finding a twist, upright through the spine. Last one. That's it. Now pause here, holding on to our weights way out from the center of the body. Feeling that work in the shoulders. Really good. Now reach back through that left leg a little more. See if you can bring your hand to the floor, or what I like to do is bring the hand to the actual can if you're using it. That sort of acts as a block. That's it. And let's pause in this twisted lunge. Reaching up through the right arm with that weight above the shoulder as we push the floor away through our left hand. Really good. And then we can take the weights back and close to the body. Come on, back upright. Okay, we're going to incrementally step the back foot forward. Find a little squat each time you step that back foot in. You're determining how deep you're going. Feel what's best for you in your knees and in your hips. And then pause once you've got your feet side by side. Whew. I'll show you an option of bringing the hand to the seat of the chair instead. So we can do that. So let's check it out on the other side. Same thing. Start with your feet about hip distance apart, holding on to the weights. Find chair pose. 2 more. That's it. Bending at the hips and the knees, trying to stay as upright as possible through the upper body. We can start to incrementally step the right foot back. So that right heel is off the ground the whole time. Yes, you're asking for a big bend in those toe joints as we're also strengthening here through the legs. Okay, stepping back as far as it feels comfortable and stable for you. And we can stretch the arms out in front. Pull back with that left elbow. Feel how that action pulls you into a twist. Turning to the left, sweeping that arm to where it started. Pulling back, turning, stretching through that left arm, slowly bringing it around. Last one here. Keep in touch with the breath. And let's pause into this twist. So you could be quite a bit down with your hips. You could be more upright. Just go to where you feel strong and stable for one more breath. So reach strongly back through your right leg as you come forward. You can bring your hand to the floor, to a block, to your can, or to the seat of a chair like I'm doing here. So it's just asking a little less of a bend through the hips or in the low back. Maybe that feels better. So trying out this option if you prefer. Really good. All right, and then take your time to unwind back to facing your front foot, holding on to both weights, standing tall through the spine, incrementally stepping your back foot forward. Finding that little squat each time. Bending through hips and knees and ankles until your feet are side by side. And we can come up to a strong mountain pose. From mountain pose, holding onto the weight still, let's roll our spine down. Let's bring the chin down towards the chest. Take your time to let the arms dangle. Feel the upper back widen. And slowly start to let that movement travel down the spine. Head and arms are heavy. You're pulling up through the front of the belly, helping support a little more length through the low back. The further down you go, the more you'll likely want to bend your knees. So setting the weights aside, bending the knees enough to bring the hands to the floor. We can take this back into a downward facing dog. And just pause in our downward dog and noticing any change here in the body. Really nice. And then lowering the knees and giving the legs a stretch out in front. I thank you for joining me for this quick 15-minute class, and I hope you can join me for the actual class.